back to another Trail Talk Tuesday. Today I'm talking about one of my favorite snacks out on the trail and one of my favorite snacks in general. It's packed with protein, it's packed with, depending on what cut of meat you get, fat, and it's just great. It keeps well in a pack for multiple days, and I'm talking about beef jerky. So today I'm going to be showing you how I make beef jerky for the trail. It's good for about a month or so in the fridge, and you can just stick it in your pack and it lasts for a few days. It's really great. So I am using a bottom round, and my deli here at Food Lion on the East Coast slices it thin for me, and I guess it's something, if you would make fajitas, you would use something like this. I'm using bottom round. It's cheaper than top round. I'm going to cut it up. This is 1.17 pounds, and when you put it in and I'm using an air fryer toaster oven combo, so it takes a lot less time, but when you cook it, you lose about half the weight or so. So I have just over a pound here, so I'll have just over a half a pound when I'm done, and that'll be great for a couple of days out on the trail to kind of break up with my other food. So let's get started. So you can cut this up however you like it. If you like a big piece of fruit leather, that works fine. But I like them cut into smallish size pieces. So I'll show you what they look like. So sometimes they're a little bit thin, but they come in a big size like this. And I just cut them down into strips like you normally would get in beef jerky packets. It just makes them easier to manage, and they cook really well. It doesn't take a long time to cook them. So I've cut them into strips about an inch or so wide. They work really well, and it's good to have a few different sizes so you can layer them in whatever you're putting them on. If you're putting them on a pan or anything like that, you can get a bunch more pieces packed in together. And then I like to just cut them in half. So now I've got all these pieces that look like this, and they're just perfect beef jerky size. They do get a little bit smaller, but I find that that's not that big of a deal. They actually end up perfect bite sizes to eat. So now we have that cut up. We'll make our seasoning, and what I like to do is 4 very simple ingredients. I use Worcestershire sauce, soy sauce, Himalayan pink salt, and some pepper. And you can do it however you would like. I like these flavors because they have a lot. There's basically a lot of flavors, so it's perfect. You can omit anything if you would like to add some celery powder, some onion powder, garlic powder, anything like that. I'm sure those would taste good, but usually I find that if these things marinate overnight, they're going to be packed full of flavor anyway. So what you're looking for is pretty much even amounts of everything. So I'll put a half a cup or so of soy sauce in, and you can measure this out, but ultimately if you're short on one thing, you can just add it again in the future. And then I'll add 1 part of Worcestershire sauce as well, along with the soy sauce. This is not a good job for you if you don't like to get your hands a little bit dirty. Though I suppose you could do this with a fork or some other mixing tool, but I like to get in there and really go to town, get it all in there. I'm putting, this is probably 2 teaspoons of pepper flakes, and I like to put extra pepper because it makes it a little bit spicier, but that's probably 2 teaspoons or so of salt and pepper. And I take all the pieces that are separated and just dunk them in there, and you can kind of stir it up as you go. But you want to make sure that you kind of separate them out beforehand, or else they all get stuck together and they don't get coated right. If you like your beef jerky a little bit chewy, don't cook it as long. And in this dehydrator / air fryer, it takes about 2 hours to get it to the point where it's really not crispy, but it's not chewy at all. It just kind of breaks off. I like it a little bit chewier, so I do an hour to an hour and a half. And if you're using an oven, 2 hours is closer to about 6 hours in a conventional oven. So if you're using a conventional oven, you can do something like 6 hours or 4 to 6 hours, and that 4-hour mark will probably give you a little bit more of a chewy flavor or a chewier texture, and that's what I like in beef jerky. So this is nice because you can really customize it. You don't get the sugars and things that are packed into beef jerky from the store, and I really like that. There's a lot of preservatives. If you just make this a little bit ahead of time, it'll keep really well in the fridge. I suppose you could put it in the freezer, though I've never done that. And it just tastes really good. It's also like half the price of normal beef jerky. Beef jerky at the store is extremely expensive. It's like almost $30 a pound. This was 1 pound, and it was, I think, $5. So if it cooks down to a half a pound, that'd be $10 a pound, which is much better than the $30 a pound that most beef jerky is. So I really like that as well. So we have got this all sorted out. We've gotten it all incorporated. I didn't need to make any more sauce, so that's perfect. It was about 1/4 of a cup of soy sauce, about 1/4 of a cup of Worcestershire sauce, and 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of pepper. So that's perfect. So what we'll do is we'll let this marinate overnight in the fridge. So cover it, put it in the fridge. You want to make sure that you have plenty of liquid. If you can see inside the glass here, there's liquid in the bottom. You want to make sure there's plenty of that because the meat will soak up all that liquid. So tomorrow we'll let it rest for about 24 hours, maybe a little less, a little more. We'll let it set for just a little bit, and then we'll pop it in the air fryer dehydrator combo that I've got, and we'll pick it up from there. Hey, what's up guys? We're back here. It's been about 24 hours, and I've got my jerky here, just done marinating. I took it out this morning and just mixed it up to make sure it was all coated and it was doing good. So what we're going to do here is the next step. You're going to get a few paper towels or a rag or something else, and you're just going to pat the jerky dry. And I've done it both ways. You don't have to do it, but I find that it takes a lot longer in the dehydrator or your air fryer. It takes a lot longer than it normally would, and you still end up with jerky that's kind of wet even when it's done. So I like to pat it off like this, just with some paper towels. You only want to pat off as much as you can fit in your air fryer basket here, and I like to use the basket. You can do it on a wire tray, but the basket's a lot easier, and I just have a pan with some tin foil underneath of it to catch it. So you'll just want to line it up here in your basket. however it'll fit. You can cram it in close together if you'd like. It doesn't really hurt it all that much to do it that way. So I go in and I overload it if I can, or as much as I can, right next to each other. See, I didn't get too much in there. About a pound will yield about a half a pound worth of meat. So what you can do is you can just leave this in the fridge, or if you're doing this in the oven, you can put another batch on a different shelf if that works for you, kind of out of the way. But I can only fit about this much on this tray, so that's all I'm going to do at a time. And since it takes about an hour and a half, it's not too bad. I can do a few batches per night. Or if I'm doing it on a weekend, I can just rotate and do a few pounds on the weekend. So, all right. So this is the air fryer dehydrator I'm going to be using. It's just a Cuisinart air fryer / toaster oven combo, and you can just set this right on top of the tin foil in there, and it works great. And then I'm just going to start with the dehydrate setting. You can see it. Let's get in a little closer. Got a few different settings. I'm gonna go to dehydrate. I'm gonna do it for 180 degrees, and I'm going to do it for an hour and a half. That's how long it takes. It'll beep at me when it's done. It's perfect. All right, so that's going in the dehydrator right now. Pretty excited for it to be done. That's going for about an hour and a half, but if you're using a standard oven, just put it on 180 degrees and run it for about 6 hours or so. If you don't have a convection oven or a convection oven, it's basically just going to speed it up if you do have this air fryer / toaster oven on the dehydrate setting. So that's perfect. We'll look back at it in about an hour and a half when it's done. We'll see what it looks like, see if it needs more time or not. All right, this is perfect. These pieces, they come out a little bit smaller, but they've got great texture. They're kind of chewy. They pull apart really nice. They have great flavor. Everything about it is absolutely perfect. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content. Hit the like button on the video, and we'll see you next time for our next Trail Talk Tuesday.